What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to Tower Talk. We're not TWAB Talk anymore, it's Tower Talk because I want to talk about more things than are just in the TWAB. I have a lot of my own thoughts, and there's not a lot in the TWAB, so I wanted to make it a title that is more appropriate and makes room for more things. So let's see. Here we go. Let's bring up this week at Bungie, and we'll just go through everything here. So please do keep in mind that not only is this the Beyond Light launch, but the Season of the Hunt is live. But it doesn't really get going until next week when the seasonal missions are going to start. The Wrathborn hunts will start at Reset this Tuesday. So that's going to be pretty fun. I'm assuming it's going to be kind of like Nightmare Hunts, but upgraded and themed appropriately. That sounds pretty cool. Let's see. The next section of the TWAB goes on to talk about stasis, and they give some additional information about each of the different stasis subclasses. So definitely, if you're interested in learning more about that, you should hop on over to the TWAB yourself and check out the breakdowns of each of the different things. It's pretty neat. And also in that same section, Bungie was kind enough to make us some very pretty 4K wallpapers of the various stasis subclasses wearing that new armor. There's a really cool one that has all three classes, and then there's a really, really cool one for each class. So I thought that was pretty nice. I love that Bungie does that all the time. I know I have the ramen coupon as my wallpaper on my new laptop. It's nice to see that when I log in to do things. Let's see here. Player support team had some information. Connection server known issues. Obviously, we all know ever since Monday the 9th, they've been investigating server stability in various error codes, including Guitar and Arugula, and they will provide more information once it becomes available. I know I got a Guitar error during the event. I got guitared out of the Last City instance where you actually, like when you're at the end to watch the Traveler, that's where it happened to me. And I haven't had any more guitars, but there have been a whole bunch of different things, and I've noticed like an increase in cabbage for me. I get those a lot kind of anyway, but it seems like I've been getting more. So anyway, the team is on it. They also talked about some issues with Beyond Light licenses and season passes where players are saying they purchased Beyond Light, but they don't have the season pass, and they can't access the campaign. They do go on to point out that season passes are not included in the standard edition of Beyond Light. So, check which edition you have. You might need to purchase the season pass in the game. And they also pointed out that season passes can't be shared between accounts. Okay, so remember that. On console, the main that content, so it could be something like that too. And then they go on to break it down by platform, Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam, respectively, different things that you need to check and different procedures. So have a look at that. Look up your specific platform if you're having any trouble. This is one of the things I wanted to call out in the midweek updates section. The Rose hand cannon was disabled because its RPM is still 150 instead of being changed to 140. That issue is set to be resolved in a future update, but you can't use the Rose. And another thing that's been disabled is Witherhoard. Friends, disabled until further notice. So as of right now, Witherhoard does not have a resolution planned yet. What was going on with Witherhoard is, I don't know if this was limited just to PvP, but you would put Witherhoard Blight down, right? And if a Guardian stepped in it and then stepped out, they would continue to have tick damage I think tick damage until they died, as though they were still standing in the blight well, or as though they had taken a direct hit from Witherhoard, right? Everybody knows if you get direct hit with it, you tick until you die, right? So Witherhoard is disabled. Oh boy, it doesn't sound like Witherhoard is going to get fixed before the raid, which is a mighty, mighty shame for the world's first racers, if anything hinged on that for them. The legendary drop rates in Widow's Walk were accidentally increased way too far, and that got turbo nerfed before I even got home on Wednesday. So know that if you're seeing that anywhere, that's gone. And I also saw that the moon, I believe it's daily bounties, have also been disabled due to some kind of issue or exploit or whatever it was. Yeah, so that's that. We'll circle back a little later and I'll tell you what I'm doing to level up since the Widow's Walk quote-unquote loot cave is gone. It's really not that big of a deal. We'll come back to that. Let's see, what else is in TWAB here? NVIDIA Reflex integration is now supported by Destiny 2, for those of you that care about that. And this is an important one for any of you that are still using Destiny via Battle.net. Starting on December 1st, 2020, Blizzard's Battle.net accounts will no longer be available for users to log in with on Bungie.net or in the Destiny Companion app, nor will users be able to migrate their Battle.net account to Steam. So be careful of this one, Guardians, because if you do not migrate over to Steam before December 1st, your Guardians and all of your progress will be lost. You need to migrate over to Steam. Make sure you do it. Eyes up, everybody. Get it done. Let's see. Is there anything in the known issues that's worth calling out? There is something about the Europa Patrol. The nth power can't be progressed by warlocks using stasis. So if you've run into that problem, you're not crazy. It's busted. Here's another good one. Players who dismantle stasis fragment quests must wait a week before picking up a new one. Be careful of that. 1-inch punch finisher won't kill enemies if players have stasis equipped. That's a funny one. Xbox players are experiencing crashes while in the tower, especially when opening their vault. Can confirm that's been happening to me. Not a lot, but a little bit. Let's see. Is there anything else? Nothing else that's that big of a deal. So that wraps it up for the TWAB. Like I said, it was fairly thin this time. Correction. The moon bounties that are disabled are the moon repeatable bounties. Looks like the other ones are intact. It is specifically moon repeatable bounties. What else have we got here? Oh, one of my friends was detailing what the moon repeatables were doing, so let's check this out. It was giving 11,000 XP. So that's how a bunch of people have gotten their season ranks so high. Oh well, sorry I missed it. Doesn't really matter. Now let's see here. What is our next topic then? So how do I feel about Beyond Light so far? Definitely want to talk about that. I gotta admit, the first day was kind of rough. It started off with me being super excited, and then once I got through the networking stuff, no, actually, I lied. I didn't. I got right in. I wasn't one of those people that had a problem on the first day. I didn't even have to queue. So, yay me. Didn't have a hard time getting in once I got home later in the afternoon. But when I got to the character select screen, that was when the uh-ohs started and I looked at my guardian was not happy with the changes to the character model. I felt better about that later because as I'm looking around at everything, I realized that it looks like they reverted to more of the Destiny 1 models. So, I mean, I don't look different. I went back to looking like I always looked in D1, which I actually did like. So, kind of once my brain made peace with that, I was happy. And then I started that first mission and was really enjoying it. Like, loved the initial cutscenes, loved what was going on. And then I happened to take a look at what happened to my mods, just to see, what was deprecated and all that stuff. And if you if you were watching the stream, I got real quiet when I realized that a lot more got changed than anything I read. Like than anything they made it sound like in what I saw. And honestly, I wasn't even mad. I think the word was completely gobsmacked. I was just so shocked that everything that I had built had been completely gutted. Beyond what they said about the resist mods, the raid mods, and the different resist mods, because I don't ever remember them talking about like limiting concussive dampener only to the chest. That's one of the things that's different. And taking away major, minor, and boss resist. I don't ever remember them talking about it being that extensive. And I also didn't really think about like how many elemental choices were taken away by removing the element from the weapon mods, which overall that's been great. I want to say that is awesome. But it really like changed the choices and the configurations. And I'm looking at my favorite build in particular and going, oh no, like, is this build ruined? And it was really overwhelming. So I was freaking out a little bit about that. And it was just, listen, for my personality, that was way, way, way too much change all at one time. And with everything else that's going on in life and the world for everybody right now, it was kind of a sucker punch to have our safe Destiny place get that much of a facelift when you weren't expecting it. I mean, look, maybe Bungie did detail that and I must have completely missed the memo. But yeah, it was a surprise to me. I don't know how many other people got caught out, but definitely give a shout in the comments if it caught you off guard too. But you know what? Change is good. So really, really positive thing that came out of it. And this is a lesson as to why you need to like not fly off the handle and you need to give things a chance, even if up front you're unhappy or you're tempted to feel unhappy, because actually what has happened with mods has given us, at least for my builds, like I have much better choices. Like the overall functionality of my builds is better. And like for my super sword build, I actually ended up, I have to slot another arc charged with light mod, right? To make the fast sword recharge on Lucent Blade work, to proc that, right? And I ended up using a mod that I never would have tried before. That's actually really freaking awesome and it totally makes sense with my build. And as it happens, like it and the momentum transfer can go on the same piece. And it plays nice with Lucent Blade and all that. And so, Lucent Blade being set up, that one procs the sword recharge, and then the Lucent Blade being on procs the secondary on that other one. So, that is a combination that's better than what I had, that I would never have found if not for these changes. So, super grateful. Good lesson to show why you need to just try to like be cool and figure it out, because change is going to happen, whether it's a game or it's life or whatever. And a lot of times, in fact, most of the time, change is a great opportunity to grow into something better. So, anyway, the more you know, kids, the more you know. And I'm figuring out how things kind of jive now under these new configurations with mods, and I'm overall really, really happy and excited for what I have figured out and kind of the possibilities that I see. So, and a note about my builds, both the Super Sword Sunshot and the Solar Inferno. I'm going to be getting those both back in working order and like just playing around with them a little. I think I've pretty much got Super Sword Sunshot figured out. And I'm going to do a video about that one shortly. Just need to collect some footage for it. And then I'll do the Solar Inferno build as well. So look for those on YouTube here in the near future. I'm going to try to get those done as soon as makes sense for you all. So if you've been using those builds or using parts of those builds, you can see what I've updated to and try that out yourself. There is one change, though, that did really, really piss me off. It was the one thing that I was actually angry about for like a good half an hour. Which is that if you look at the strikes playlist now, it has a power level of 1100. And if you're doing the math in your head right now, you'll know that means that it is not a sunset safe zone anymore. So like for me, strike playlist was my destiny and chill. You know, you just go in there and hit shuffle on the strikes, because I really love doing strikes, and you just do whatever comes up and it's great. Well, you can't use sunset stuff and do that anymore. And that was another one that surprised me, just because, like, listen, I get it. Bungie is saying you can have powerful gear from doing those strikes now. But I guess that makes it endgame content, which means above sunset. And I know previously in Destiny as a whole, D1 and D2, strike power level was something that went up. But then in, I think, the entirety of the Shadowkeep era, the strikes have been at the power floor. And like, look, strikes are my destiny and chill zone, right? So it was upsetting to me that now I've lost that, press a button and shuffle your strikes and play with whatever weapons you want fun thing that I like to do. And I also get that nobody's stopping me from launching a strike of my choice from the map and doing strike and chill that way. But I guess what I'm trying to say, Bungie, is like, our only option being to go pick a strike out from the map, like, that ain't it. I would really, really, really like to see a classic strikes playlist, where we can use whatever we want, where sunset is allowed, because it kind of seems unbalanced to me too. We can do whatever we want in the Crucible, with only a couple of exceptions. Gambit doesn't matter, but strikes doesn't have like a playlist on repeat zone that's sunset friendly. Having to go pick a strike or figure out which strike to play all the time when you want to have fun with your sunset things ain't it. I have to be honest. So please consider making like a classic strikes playlist that's exempt from sunsetting, is all I'm saying. All I'm saying. Let's see, what else? Really, on the same note of that little surprise, I am really, really laughing hard at all the people that sat there and said, oh, sunset's not gonna be that big of a deal. It's not gonna affect that much of the game, only end game. And truthfully, it's the complete opposite, because a lot of us, including me, recognized that sunset was going to be a problem with any like seasonal content, because the power floor on that gets raised every season, right? That's part of it. You grind the 50 or whatever it is to get up to the top. And then consider all the content that was removed that was a sunset friendly zone. Okay. And now you've made it so that strikes are above the power floor when they weren't for the entirety of Shadowkeep, I believe. By my reckoning, that means that you only have Crucible, with the exception of Iron Banner and Trials of Osiris, right? And Gambit. Patrols, and map launched strikes. Yeah, that's like 5% of the game. Everybody said, 5% of the game, 10% of the game, everything else is going to be fine. You'll be able to just do whatever. Nope. It's the opposite, everyone. So, surprise. But I saw the writing on the wall with that. I just really wish that the strike playlist thing had been better thought out. And I can see, too, that they're trying to have, less to manage and to keep the population pools less spread out. I understand all of those things about, game management and healthy online game management. We really need a solution for the strike thing, though. That's it. That's the only thing really sticking in my craw. I'm even really just okay with the fact that most of the game is excluded from Sunset. Really, I'm mostly okay with that. I just want a playlist for Sunset things, for strikes. Other than that, it's fine. I've been able to use some of my Sunset stuff plenty. And I've enjoyed, by the way, the new things that I've gotten so far. So I'm feeling okay about it. And I'm kind of like, I'm looking at my vault, and I was doing some more cleaning out and organizing. And I was thinking that, really, I have come around mostly to the idea that, I'm going to rotate weapons in and out, and I'm just not really going to hang on to too much stuff. As they sunset, I'll kiss things goodbye. I'll have kind of a nice amount of my vault that will just rotate all the time, and I'm fine with that. And it lets you play with new and different and then move on to the next new and different without, hoarding a bunch of things because they're good forever. Because that's also not healthy. But I do have a concern, and I think Glad said this on his Twitter the other day, that there isn't a lot of stuff that's new. We've talked about how it was already a feels bad man that we had so many weapons like Gnawing Hunger that were, we regrinded for them last season just to get a new sticker on them and a higher sunset cap. They had nothing added to them. They were the same weapons. They just had a higher cap. And that ain't it either, Bungie. I'm not real happy about that. And to what I would say is, I'm not going to sit and get on the bandwagon about how, you need to make all these new weapons, and, I shouldn't have to regrind. It's not that. It's that it just feels bad when it's the same weapon, And here's what I say. My proposed solution, because we kind of see this, a different flavor of it, if you will, with the kiosk where you can get the quest weapons and the raid exotics, right? And the other exotics. Why don't you, if you've put a weapon back in the pool, right, and it has the same perks or less, right? Less but not more, right? If it's a less but not more situation, Let us, I don't know, pay a golf ball and some materials to give it the new power cap. Because if its perk pool is the same or even less, why should I have to grind for a new one? It just feels bad. It feels artificial, you know? I Glad talked about that particular thing as well. And I definitely agree with him on that. And then you combine that with the fact that there's not a lot that's new, and it just feels bad that we're being forced to leave all that stuff behind and not really have a decent amount to choose from. I think that's the key part of it, is decent amount to choose from. I don't so much care about you taking it away. I got over that a long time ago. But it's that I'm not trading for anything, you know. And look, I love this game and I'm still happy with most of the things. I just have to like call out that detail. You know what I mean? It's just like, if you're gonna force sunset, don't just force us to regrind for unchanged weapons, right? That's number one. And you've got to trade in other new things, like more than 5 or 6 things. Straight up, I'm just going to be honest with you. It's got to be better than that, or don't do it. And you know what else I would be okay with? Fully okay with saying, hey, these weapons are kind of out of control. We're going to remove these things from being able to be used in certain places. I don't know, maybe the game engine doesn't support that. Maybe power is the only vehicle that we have for that. But I would still like to see that done, to be honest. And you know what else I would have been okay with? I'm just going to come out and say it right now. I would have been totally okay with not being able to buy things like Mountaintop from the kiosk. People that have it, you get to keep it. But I would have been totally okay with just making it not available anymore. In fact, a lot of those weapons, I would have been okay with them just not being available anymore. And I suppose it's easy for me to sit up here in my ivory tower and say that, being somebody that has them. But I'd like to think that I can look at it objectively and say, look, you had your time to get it. It had its time being awesome. Let's not put any more of them out into the population where it continues to have an effect on the game. Right? And I confess, too, that's something else that I need to do. I have not tried to use my Mountaintop since it was changed. I'm thinking like me and the guys need to go do a Pit of Heresy run and see if it still works well enough for us in PvE, because I was never good at using it in Crucible. I gotta be honest, I was never good at using that thing. So my only concern is what it does in PvE, and it doesn't seem like that was going to be hurt that much, other than maybe having to be a little more careful with your aim, right? We got a little off topic there, but that was a good discussion. I think it was important for folks to be thinking about some of those things that I'm saying, you know. So where did we get to? I got through the second, what did they call them? Not Wrathborn Hunt, but whatever the heck they called Empire Hunt. I got through the second Empire Hunt of the campaign last night before I quit. And I'm really, really liking this expansion so far. I can see that it's going to be a little shorter, but I think we know that with the size of Bungie's team and the fact that they try to minimize crunch, that we have to keep our expectations realistic for campaign sizes. It's just the way it is. The quality of the content is really good, and the storytelling is at this really high level that it makes it feel like a lot more. Like there's so much lore and various storytelling and like character things happening that I don't mind the time being a little shorter, because I think what we're getting out of the time is worth a lot. It's a lot of stuff going on in that small space. Like a movie that's packed and paced really well. You know what I mean? And I mean, everything looks and feels a lot more like Destiny 1 than it did, not gonna lie. The way that they changed the lighting, and like the Traveler is healed now. That's a conversation we forgot to have. We'll get to that. Travelers healed. And did you notice they had like the 3 spotlight beams in the tower like we used to have in the old tower? And you look out there and the Traveler's not fragmented anymore. It's like D1. And the character models, my Warlock, I think, looks pretty much exactly like she did back then, which I like. And, the Cosmodrome and all these things, it feels like Destiny 1 and 2 have come together in like all the best parts of each game, and a lot of the BS about each of those games has been thrown out, good and bad BS, and we've got kind of this cool hybrid of like, it's kind of like maybe what Destiny 1 would have been if they hadn't had to start over with Destiny 2, and a lot, but like most of the stuff that I think people didn't like about D1 is gone, and that's good. That's good. I think we're in a really, really, really good place right now with this game and this franchise. I tend to not think of them as separate games very much. It's only about describing the time. You know what I mean? We're in a good place. Let's see. There were a couple more things I wanted to talk about. Oh, I forgot to talk about the Traveler live event at the top of the show. I got kind of distracted by some of our tangents. When we started off reading the TWAB. So that live event was, we're talking about storytelling and things that are happening. I mean, look, I love the Almighty event because it was a cool spectacle, but this event already was a lot more mature in its storytelling. It wasn't just about sitting there and watching the Traveler and like, it was cool how you came to the tower and you're looking and you're looking and you're looking like we did for the Almighty, and then, oh, a secret mission pops up, and you go into that mission and you're standing in the city. I don't know how many of you recognize that area that you spawned into at first, but I believe we landed in that spot during the very first Solstice of Heroes. I mean, remember you walk forward from there out of that hallway with all the pillars, and Ikora was standing in the little plaza, and I really liked that space then, and so I was super jazzed at that city traversal, like just walking through the city and seeing more of that cool area. I don't know how much of that was actually already built, ? I don't know. Or if they built more for this, but you'd have to think that they didn't, that maybe that was just a space that they built that they could utilize different ways. We used it for Solstice of Heroes, but it's there in the box, if you will, to be used when they need it. But everything in there like looked really cool, and it was fun running through the city and kind of like trying to figure out where to go. And you got these waves of energy coming out from the Traveler, and all of a sudden you've got like super speed and super jump, and and then you load into that end area and you're right there where you can see the Traveler, and they built that neat little balcony space on the top of the building for you to hang out and watch. And then the Traveler starts glowing, and the best part of it was I think the time that we spent watching the Traveler, like when it started glowing, was pretty good. It was enough time for everybody to kind of get there, like any Johnny come latelys, and they could see what was happening. And then that little bit of dialogue started, and I got the tingles, because it's like, oh my gosh, this is what it was like at the collapse? Oh my god, is something really bad gonna happen? And we have, that great little bit of dialogue with Eris and your ghost, and then the screen cuts, and that cutscene of the map starts, and anybody that plays D1, their hair stood right up when I call them the snakes, when the snakes started coming in from the sides of the map, because anybody that was around for D1 knows that's the darkness, right? We have the music, and then it's like it's encroaching, it's covering up the planets, and it's encroaching, and then the Traveler's getting brighter and brighter, and you see the pieces pulling in, and it's healing, and then blinding white and dark. And that was the end of the season. So great. And we know now from Beyond Light's intro that those planets have disappeared. They were actually consumed like it looked on the map. Now, we don't know if they're destroyed. We just know that they're not there. Nobody can see them. And nobody's heard from Sloan or Asher. And that's where we're at. But that event was really cool. I'm really a big fan of them using those little mini events as a storytelling vehicle. It was such a great way to close out not just the season, but really an entire era of Destiny, because we had all that content leaving, and it's an era shift as far as the story goes. So really a great way to close it out. And it's like, now the pyramids are here and we're starting this new era. It was so great. And, you know, I had friends from all different platforms in my Discord, and we were all talking to each other. And it was just, I like that too. I like that it brings us together to watch these really cool story moments together that you had to be there for, you know? And yeah, you can go watch it on YouTube later if you missed it. I'm sorry if you did miss it. But it's not the same as being in game with your friends and seeing these things happen. You know, it was really, really, really cool. And I really like it. And I'd really like more, because we definitely matured like a whole step from the Almighty. I've really liked them both. Last thing I want to talk about, you know, we talk about lore, and I really like lore. And I was thinking to myself, I get it, because I saw the cutscene. Spoilers, by the way. Spoilers. I'll give you a minute. Spoilers for Beyond Light. Spoilers. I got to that cutscene where Eris and the Stranger and the Drifter are fighting all the Fallen and stuff, and you see Eris using stasis and stuff, and like you see her orb change from green to like the black hematite looking. And ask yourselves, where did we see that before? Where did we see that before? We saw that when Eris, remember the cutscene? I forget which season that was. Was that Season of the Undying? I think it was Season of the Undying, where she's in the pyramid ship room with the big veiled statue, right? Where we got the orb, remember? And she walks up to the statue and she touches it with her hand, and you see her orb change to that hematite look, and she smiles, and we all kind of wondered, like, oh, what's going on? Well, I think now we know that right then and there she accepted the gift and got stasis. Right? And at the time, you know, it's still easy to think, whoa, like, so she just was like, she touched the statue and said, yes, please, I'd like it. Or maybe she was called there, like we were called on Europa, right? Because like her situation is a little different. But I know a lot of people are still like, whoa, I don't know about Eris. And I'm just going to tell you, look, I'm going to ruin it for you a little bit, and I'm going to tell you writing-wise. It would be terrible, terrible, terrible writing for Eris to be the one that's the agent of the darkness, if indeed there is one, but there's plenty of suggestions that there is. It's too easy to say that she's the one. It's too obvious. My personal feeling is that smile, now that we know that that's what happens when she uses stasis, right? That smile was her smiling because she knew she just got a gift that she could turn against the darkness. She knew as soon as she touched it and accepted it. She knew. So, I'm still on team Eris is a good guy. 100%. All right, well, gosh, we had a lot to talk about. That was a little more than I had originally planned, but good talk, everyone. Good talk, fellow Guardians. We're going to go to intermission really quick, and I'm going to check on something with my mic, because I think my mic got killed because of my USB bus here. We're going to go to an intermission while I check that real quick and do a couple of things, and when I come back, it's going to be time for more Beyond Light. So sit tight.